Good evening, viewers, and welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on Axe Television Network. And it's always a pleasure to be in your company between hours of 8 to 9, where we tend to bring you something that is relevant in the sports. And you know that within a couple of days, the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation elections is due. And it's my pleasure to, when I say my pleasure, it's really my pleasure because when I looked at the manifesto of this candidate, I think that it has to be a work well done because you're going to hear from him himself what the whole plan is. And I think that if I was a person who had to vote after seeing the layout and the plans for football over the next 4 years, I would certainly give my vote to this gentleman. And I have with me none other than David John Williams.
Good
It's
evening,
a pleasure.
Coach. Pleasure.
Now, I see you have a couple of gray hair, right? I see you have a couple of gray hair. Why on earth are you going into something that within the next couple of months we could see some more grays? Because you formed up the connection from birth. You're going into something now, only when you win and you go in, you will know the true facts of what is happening. And you know the election is Sunday. If you win Monday morning, they'll criticize you. They will say you ain't working fast enough. Why take a challenge like this? And especially when the job is a non-paying job.
Very good question, George. And I have to put it in perspective for you. In November last year, I was asked by several people within the football fraternity that I should run for the office of president of the TTFA because they felt that I could make a good candidate. At that time, I turned them down. The elections were then put off for June this year. In April, several people came back and I turned it down. I just want to shift a bit. You know, when I discuss this matter with my family, my son, at the time 11 years old, when I asked him about it, you know, he said, "Daddy, why you want to take on this headache at the TTFA presidency for 4 years and you could be president of W Connection for life?"
Good question.
And I say, you know, this man gave me a kind of high talk in local parlance.
And at 11 years, eh?
At 11 years. And it set me thinking. And when the election date was announced, people came back again. And I felt for a third consecutive time, people asking me to run for the presidency of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. I felt they saw something. I felt that I would have been failing the people in not throwing my hat in the ring. And that is how it all came about. When I got into football in Trinidad and Tobago, I never had any aspiration to serve at the highest level of the game, except in the TT Pro League. And at the end of the day, if this is my calling, well, so be it. So to answer your questions, a few more gray hairs, possible. But I think that I'm going to give it my best shot in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago football.
Now, over the years, during your managing W Connection, you always had your integrity. You know, you never heard anybody, you know, say John Williams, X, Y, or Z, right? So there you qualify with the criteria because for far too long we have been hearing so many negative things about the TTFA. Ever since we could remember, there is always something tainted, corruption, what and all this other thing. The election is Sunday. When you take up office, let's say you win and you take up office, what are the plans you have to go for the next 4 years? And how would the public benefit? Because although the public is not voting in this election, the public, the supporters, are the ones who will either get what they want or continue with what we have and lose interest in football?
Well, first of all, I think it is imperative for everybody to understand that since 2006, reaching a World Cup final in Germany, which was the pinnacle of our football history so far, the football has been embroiled in controversy. In 2006, you had a blacklist, and one expected that in 2006, the football would have risen to a particular level. And everybody knew the impact of Germany 2006 created by the Trinidad and Tobago Soca Warriors.
Yeah.
Then, after that, it was just downhill. Generally in FIFA, there seems to be a problem of credibility. And the Football Federation, it is perceived as being similar. And I want to put it into the context of politics. When somebody is given a mandate, an overwhelming mandate, the expectation of the population will be very, very high. And if that mandate is not embraced by whichever party in power, that population will be extremely disappointed. But you know what? The person who's coming after that administration, whether it's football, government, and so on, is under tremendous pressure and tremendous scrutiny. And that is the first thing that the public need to understand, that if I'm elected as president of the TTFA, I will be under tremendous scrutiny. And I do intend to sully my name that I've taken a lifetime to build, to lose it in 1 day or 1 hour.
True.
So the public can expect a level of transparency, a level of accountability. And to put it in perspective and to relate it back to W Connection, I am the chief cook and bottle washer at W Connection along with my brother Patrick. I'm the major shareholder. But I have an independent chairman, and I have 2 independent directors on the board.
Okay.
And I always like to tell people that I could tell my chairman where to get off in the morning.
Okay.
But when there's consensus at the board level, and my chairman says it's so,
Yeah.
we go with that.
Okay.
And that's probably one of the success stories of W Connection, why we're so successful, because we have a very embracing and all-in-one approach with consultation. So that the Trinidad and Tobago public can expect a level of commitment second to none. The same commitment, the same passion, the same drive that I have for W Connection Football Club, I intend to transfer it into Trinidad and Tobago football. I want to deal a little bit with that, because the next question you may ask me is, how would I treat with W Connection, and how would the conflict of interest going to come?
Yes.
Because it has been bandied about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to spend some time on that, because at the end of the day, W Connection have me in this mess, if I want to, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Because the success of the organization which I've headed has
brought
qualified me
Yes.
as a candidate to run for the TTFA presidency. But is that same W Connection is my Achilles heel? Because everybody's going to say, well, boy, he's going to be partisan to W Connection.
Because we saw that in the past.
And we saw that past.
Yeah.
And that is the stigma that is going to appear to be attached to me. So I cannot win. But and whether I resign as president of W Connection, I sell my shares, I do go to a W Connection game.
But I don't think
I'm just using,
Okay.
I'm just being extremist now.
Yeah, okay.
I do go to a W Connection game, people will still say,
yeah, that behind the door,
Behind
behind
the
those doors, you're still connected.
I am still connected. And George, I want to tell you this. Don't matter what I do, don't matter what I say, the only thing would absolve me from that is if I'm elected president of TTFA, my tenure in office is the only thing that is going to show the Trinidad and Tobago public what I'm really about. So from now till whatever time I serve, if elected, is something that I have to live with. But I want to go a little further than that. And again, the success of W Connection could create a big problem for me. Currently on the national senior team, I can call at least 7 players that have either W Connection players or past players of W Connection. Jovan Jones.
Yeah.
We still own 30% in Jovan Jones. Daniel Cyrus. He's a 100% W Connection player. He just went on loan to Chicago Fire. Yeah. Michael Williams, he's a 100% W Connection player. He's just on loan to Antigua FC in Guatemala. Kenwin Jones, a former W Connection player. If Kenwin is transferred, we still have 2.5% solidarity payment to receive from him. Aubrey David spent all his formative years at W Connection as a youth player. If he's transferred, we have 5% solidarity payment in him. Michael Williams spent almost 9 seasons at W Connection. If he's transferred for a transfer fee, we have a solidarity payment in it. So how Karen Cummings, how do I really win in the scenario? Am I president of the TTFA? Am I picking the current national team?
Yes.
But let's go a little further than that. God forbid this team does not qualify for the World Cup. There has to be a rebuilding exercise.
Yeah.
And where that rebuilding exercise will come from, it will come mainly from the under-23 team that is existing right now, or the national under-20 team. In that under-23 team, there are 9 W Connection players. And in the under-20 team, there are 11 W Connection players, 8 of which were starting. So, if I'm successful, I cannot win, George, because there's every chance that there will be a number of W Connection players in the national setup. How do I treat with that? I don't have a solution.
It's a difficult situation.
And it's a difficult situation. So do I just say, shut down W Connection in order to run for office for the TTFA?
But then you'll be hampering the national team?
Of course. So, to put it this way, people may say that I'm very bold about the statement that I'm going to make. But Trinidad and Tobago public will just have to trust me and accept the situation if I'm elected as president of TTFA, because there is no way I can change that perception.
You see, and there is so much of things that will be hanging over you with just what you just said that will actually force your hand to make sure you do what is right, because you don't want fingers pointing at you, because as I said, you win Sunday, Monday, people are going to start to say, well, watch and see what, you understand?
Exactly.
So
I can't agree with you more.
Yeah.
You know, and as I was telling someone just yesterday, the funny thing about this entire situation is that if you look at all the candidates, every candidate has a second job. Raymond Timke is an insurance executive.
Yeah.
Selby Brong runs a television network with CSTN,
in Barbados.
In Barbados.
Yeah.
Ramesh Randan runs his own business. Clint Tiller works for an organization in Point Lisas. And because of the success of the organization which I currently head, I haven't heard anybody say that Selby Brong is going to pass television rights for football through his company. I've not heard anybody say that. I've not heard anybody say that Raymond Timke, all the insurances for games which you are supposed to provide for FIFA will pass through his company. And that's the situation that I, as an individual and as a candidate for the TTF, have found myself in. So I cannot win in this situation, George. And at the end of the day, I want the Trinidad and Tobago public and I want the football fraternity to understand that we have to accept it for what it is and trust that my tenure in office, if successful, that I will show Trinidad and Tobago public the integrity and the commitment that I have for Trinidad and Tobago football.
I think all what you just said there, I think it's a good thing, especially with all this scrutiny on you, because it's going to force your hand to make sure that you do what is right. Now, I looked at your manifesto and it's very, very impressive. And I read it and it tells you exactly what the plans are for the next 4 years. But in order to implement these plans, finances is important. Now, corporate Trinidad and Tobago, they have sort of taken a back seat from the Federation, because I can't recall the last time a financial audit was produced. 2006, we made millions of dollars, but yet still we are in debt. I think the TTFA is in debt of 13 million.
I think something to the order of that.
13 million. How are you going to wipe off that 13 million and then start to implement the grassroots plans and the sending the different teams abroad and all the things that the football need to uplift?
Well, first of all, I want to tell, hats off to the team that I've been working with for putting together a program together with myself on our plans for the next 4 years. I think it was a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of long hours, because when you had something in your head about your vision for Trinidad and Tobago football, it was never my intent to run for office.
You know what's good about it too? Even before the election comes around, we know exactly who John Williams' secretary is and who.
Well, obviously,
right.
and because I just want to go a little further than that, is that we've put out a document for scrutiny.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody put out a document for scrutiny. It is a public document. It's a document that the public can hold us by, because it's a document that's going to form the policy of how the team and myself intend to work. And it's a clear indication for what we want to do. But to answer your question, I want to put it in a global context. Football globally is funded by two things. One, television rights, and two, corporate support. Whether it's in England, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in Switzerland. Trinidad and Tobago is no different. However, Trinidad and Tobago over the years have developed a credibility problem. But you know what we have going for us right now? There has been a general cleanup in FIFA, which has been caused by corporate U.S.A, corporate England, and corporate worldwide putting pressure on FIFA to get their act together. So against that backdrop, Trinidad and Tobago has fallen into the same position, that we need to get our act together in order to get corporate Trinidad and Tobago on board. And it's our intention to partner with corporate Trinidad and Tobago from the standpoint to encourage some of their executives to sit on the relevant subcommittees, particularly the Finance Committee and the Audit and Compliance Committee, which will ensure that there's a level of transparency and that they will be comfortable that this administration, if successful, is intent on good governance. And by that way, I feel relatively assured that corporate Trinidad and Tobago will come back to Trinidad and Tobago. We are in a very fortunate position at this time, because the national team is doing well. And that support is evident by the crowd that turned up on the 17th for the Trinidad U.S.A game, and we haven't even reached the hex. But what is important in that regard is to ensure that we continue to have that support, win, lose or draw, because the fans are the major stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago football. For far too long, we have seen that people only turn up when we are winning. We can't say the same for an English fan. He is there through thick and thin.
Look at Chelsea.
Chelsea.
And they have their fans coming out.
And they have the full house. And it's the intent of this administration, if successful, to ensure that the public continues to support football. And how we intend to achieve that? We want to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago remains in the top 50 in the FIFA rankings. If we can achieve that, obviously, there's going to be big international games. There's going to be good money from television, and we intend to put our television marketing into an international company that will be able to bring us top 50 games. We expect that we want to play teams from 60 and lower. We do intend to want to play teams that are ranked 150, 175 in the world. No disrespect to them.
I understand.
But if you want to achieve an objective and to be self-financing, we need to do that. We intend to create a fully self-sustaining media department, which will be staffed with its own cameras. I hope that it wouldn't be taking away work from acts and, and these things. But I mean, we have to have a business model. that is going to promote the game both nationally. For far too long that we know everybody who's playing for Chelsea and everybody who's playing for Manchester United, and some of our fans don't even know who's playing for Trinidad and Tobago.
Definitely.
We have to change that culture.
Yeah.
We have to take care of our own, and we have to promote our national players throughout the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. And we have to continue that support from the grassroots right up. And it's clear to us, and it's no rocket science, George. It's the simple things that we neglect in Trinidad and Tobago football that has been causing the problem.
So true, so true.
And the simple things like the grassroots program, it is not well implemented. Things like the club's administrators, they are not well schooled in the business of football. We have to change all those things because the clubs are the ones that are important to Trinidad and Tobago football.
Yeah. As you said that just now, it sent me back to a couple of days. I was just looking at a football game in the Pro League, and I was saying why it's the Pro League, it's our professional league, the highest level in the country. But why it is we have like W Connection coach and this guy Russ Russell. When they come to games, they are officially attired, and we see some of the coaches in short track pants and not being, and I feel it's a kind of disrespect to the league because that's our professional league. And when we watch abroad and you look at the professional leagues, the coaching staff, they attire themselves properly. But that's another story. Now, let's say the first 6 months when you are elected, what major changes can we see coming from from your team?
Well, I just want to touch on what you just mentioned about attire. We are competing with the world. People can see the English Premiership on their phones. They can see it on their computers. It's in our television sets every day. So we are competing with the world. So what we see in the world is what we have to deal with. So when you see people like Sir Charles Favier and Russ Russell properly attired, they're taking their standards from the world and not taking their standards from us locally here. Because that's what we're competing. I always remember Sir Charles Favier saying, if it's not looking like TV, we ain't ready.
Yeah, so true.
So true. One of the first things that we want to do coming into office is to re-examine the Constitution, because the Constitution is silent on a number of things. We have no intention of changing the framework of the Constitution because that's the way FIFA wants it and that's the way FIFA is going. So that we want to change a few things in the Constitution to adapt it, to make it more acceptable to Trinidad and Tobago football. But more than that, we'll have a very, very strong adherence to the Constitution. The second thing that we will do is that we'll appoint the subcommittees which have been relatively silent over the last couple of years in football. Things like the Finance Committee, things like the Audit and Compliance Committee.
The game has gone a couple of days now and we haven't heard anything as to gate receipts.
The Technical Committee. That level of accountability to the public. We haven't heard absolutely nothing since the game. And the Trinidad and Tobago people are crying out for that. So that the appointment of the subcommittees will be very, very important. I think the third thing that is very, very important is to restore the image of Trinidad and Tobago globally. We have been recognized as the #1 team in the region for a long time, and restoring that image and credibility is very, very important to us. And the other thing that is really, really critical to us is to get the Trinidad and Tobago public and the Trinidad and Tobago stakeholders on board to share with our vision, to share where we want to go in the game. The associations, like the Southern Association, the Tobago Association, the Eastern Counties, they're all stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago football. And we want to ensure that there's a level of participation by all these regional associations.
Do you think that is happening right now?
I'm not there to say that it's actually happening. It appears from the outside that it's not happening. Because at the end of the day, the TTFA belongs to the members. The 10 Pro League clubs, the 26 Super League clubs, the 6 regional associations, the referees, the Veterans Football Association. It belongs to the members. And it's only fair that the money that comes into the TTFA is administered properly, that they can benefit from it. And that's one of the things that we have put in our roadmap for the next 4 years.
Now, looking at the present state of the football, you know, each time there is a competition, we tend to see the national team coming together for this maybe less than a week.
Less than a week,
you know,
2 weeks.
2 weeks, right? Now, I've heard people on the ground saying already why it is we cannot have a locally based Trinidad team, even if it's twice a month or so in training, you know, and always be prepared. Because really and truly, if we look back at the 2 games against Mexico, right, even the game against the U.S.A, right, these guys are playing with a lot of things still in need of, and we are performing in this way. What is going to happen if these guys get everything they want, have nothing to worry about, comes to the Trinidad on time, have a sufficient 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I don't know if that's possible, but really gel within a period of time, what we can accomplish?
Well, we have spelled out in our manifesto the point you just raised, that we intend to have an amalgamated under 20, under 23 program that to train at least once a week and involved the local players that are playing in the professional league. Because what you find happening is that the pool of players are not wide enough.
Yeah.
And the pool of players are not given the experience to play at the highest level. And by that I mean, on January the 8th, we have a major game against Haiti, which will allow us to qualify if we win for the Copa America Centennial event, which is a massive, massive, massive event in Concacaf, where you have the likes of South America and North America coming together for this Copa Centennial. But it's not being played on a FIFA window.
Yeah.
So immediately we have a problem.
Yes.
So Coach Hart now
has to start a fish now for players.
For players.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because for far too long, we've had a top to bottom approach rather than a bottom to top approach. And if we had the programs in place and we had a wide enough pool to deal with, I don't think Stephen Hart would have been under so much pressure that he is right now. And might I add, he has done a tremendous job with the national team, considering the circumstances that he is operating under. And I hope that the Trinidad and Tobago public will support him in that. But you are quite correct that we are not giving the national teams what it is required. I want to go a bit further. 2022 is 7 years away. The current under-23 team, players ranging from the ages 21 to 23 or 19 to 23, these guys could be 29 years old and 28 years old. 2022. So the players that we need to be looking forward to now is the under-17 team.
That is where I have a problem with the
And we don't have an under-17 team in training. And by the time you reach to that level, we are playing against opponents who have already 60 internationals under the belt, and our players have 10. How do we compete with that? We need to put a structured program from youth level up. In our manifesto, we have clearly spelled out an under-13 program that is going to progress from under-13 to under-14 to under-17, and the coaches will move with these teams because coaches get to know their players over a period of time. And up to under-17 level, the coaches are going to progress with this team, and then they will move to another coach at that level. We have had an under-15 program that are going to play friendly internationals, at least 6 or 7 per year, under-17 team that's going to do the same. But all these things will take money. All these things will take facilities. That's why a training center will be very, very important for Trinidad and Tobago football to achieve these objectives, to have these players in training at least 3 times a week. I think that's one of the pillars that we are going to work on. And of course, if we can get corporate Trinidad and Tobago involved in these young programs, I think we'll be okay.
So many times we have seen under 17 and under 20 teams go to competitions and they do very well, but they didn't qualify to go further, and these teams come back home.
And they're disbanded.
That's it. You hear nothing about these guys again, or you might hear one or two. I was even suggesting too that, long time when you go to college football, over a period of the season, when the season ends, you can say, if I say David John Williams, tell me the top 5 players for the college season. You don't have to think. You can rattle off 5, 6, 7, 8. That's what we're not seeing right now. That's because the level of the players, it is not what is required. Because some of these guys, they don't even play in an under 13 tournament. They happen to go to a college and then they start their footballing career there. When you look at abroad, right, their training comes for 9, 10. And these same 9 and 10 go through the ranks and end up making a national team. And that's what we don't have. We don't have a system where you can take Harry through under 13 right up to the national team.
Well, you're so correct. You see, you've touched on something that is a very delicate, touchy. Sometimes people don't want to touch the colleges league or the secondary school
football. They say the truth hurts, eh?
And that's the reality. And let's deal with it from a historical perspective. In the 60s and the 70s and the early 80s, there was the colleges football league. And the colleges football league in those days consisted of maybe 12 to 13 teams, and they were the traditional teams: the Naparima, the Presentation, the Fatima, the St. Mary's, the QRCs. And then in the 80s, there came the Sawas, the Maliks, the St. Augustines, the Pleasantvilles, and so on. So that you find that the Colleges League has expanded in numbers, but it may not have expanded in quality because of the number of players. But added to that, the world now, it is the clubs that develop the players to become professionals. So we have to find a synergy with the secondary schools football league, because they are a stakeholder. They are a very important stakeholder in Trinidad and Tobago football. They have a big responsibility to the young people in Trinidad and Tobago football who want to play the game. But we have to find a synergy between the clubs and the colleges league, that we are producing the best talent and that they can represent the country at the highest level of the game. It was very striking to me way back in 2001 when we hosted the Under-17 World Cup here. And I think I still have the magazine there. And you looked at the Trinidad and Tobago team and you compared it to Argentina. And I remember seeing Carlos Tevez, Boca Juniors. I remember seeing Javier Mascherano, River Plate.
Yes.
I remember seeing...
At age 17.
At age 17. I remember seeing this guy who plays for Atletico Madrid right now, used to be at Liverpool. He played here in that World Cup. Torres, Fernando Torres.
A lot of us don't recall these guys playing
Fernando Torres playing with Atletico Madrid at 17. And I remember seeing Michael Williams, St. Anthony's College, Kenwin Jones, St. Anthony's College, Roderick Anthony, Naparima College. And that left a lasting impression. I said, how do we compete with that? And we have to understand it's the clubs that develop the player. Just recently, last year, I was looking at a kid, 17 years old, scored for, I think, Borussia Mönchengladbach in the Bundesliga. And I distinctly remember the commentator saying, tomorrow he's going to be a hero in school at 17. And unless we don't find that balance with the secondary schools, I think our football is going to be in big trouble.
How do you find that balance?
Consultation. Having meaningful and good consultation with the secondary schools. Maybe the time has come for our elite athlete to be competing with the clubs and not within the school's program. And that does not mean that I'm showing a disrespect, but it's what is good for the national game. And I am confident that if our administrator is elected into office, we can find that balance with the secondary schools. Because they are important fraternity in the scheme of Trinidad and Tobago football.
Now, another issue we need to touch on is women's football. A lot of us feel that the women's football and the women's footballers have been disrespected in the past. If we go back to the issue when the team fly out to Miami, the issue with the $500 US and all the thing that went on, they sold out at the game against Ecuador, and the team has been performing, but there is issues surrounding the teams. You hear certain players not playing because of this or because of that. And there seems to be a certain disrespect for the women's football. And to me, women's football, because I looked at the last game when Trinidad played Puerto Rico, and this team has improved tremendously. But still you are hearing from the players themselves that they are being disrespected.
Well, history we cannot change, George. And I have no intention to dwell on history right now. The future we could influence. The women's game internationally is growing at an astronomical rate. Be it in football, be it in basketball, be it in tennis. The women's game is coming to the fore. If you look at Trinidad and Tobago, 20 years ago, it was difficult to find a woman CEO. 20 years ago, you couldn't think about a woman's prime minister.
Definitely.
20 years ago, you wouldn't find the number of women that are heading ministries in Trinidad and Tobago like you see now. So women are coming to the fore in all aspects. And women football is no different. The team has done relatively well under difficult circumstances. But does that mean that the structure of the game is in good hands, so to speak? Wolf is struggling. The financial aspect and the money that the women's football is given is very limited. We don't see a proper youth program for women football in Trinidad and Tobago. That needs to be addressed. A sustained professional league in order to compete at the highest level in the world stage is needed, and not a simple 6-week professional league. We have to create opportunities for women that will be able for them to sustain their lives. And women bring a different dynamics. Their psychology, their physiology is different to men. And the women game needs attention. It is our intention to address that. Maybe it is instructive to notice that I have a woman running as a vice president.
Yes, I saw that.
Women like to be in charge of their affairs. And that is one of the things that we will ensure happens in women football. You know, a woman would not like to hear that a man is running the women's game, and FIFA has also mandated that women's football should be on the board of every federation, and the representative should be a woman and not a man. It shows the importance of the game. And we intend to treat women football with the highest level of priority that is available to us, because the women game is growing exponentially worldwide.
Have you had any discussions so far with corporate Trinidad or financial institutes regarding, should you be elected, where we go from there?
No, I have not. But what I could tell you that we have done is that we have sent our roadmap or our manifesto, so to speak, to corporate Trinidad and Tobago.
That's the manifesto.
Yes, so let corporate Trinidad and Tobago judge from that. That is as much as I can say. If corporate Trinidad and Tobago sees that our plans and our objectives are in keeping with where they want to put their money, I think we will be on the right path. I think they will be in an advantageous position to clearly see beforehand if our administration is elected, where we want to go, and they will decide we want to partner with that or not. We will not have to sell ourselves to corporate Trinidad and Tobago when we get in office.
Yeah.
We are trying to sell ourselves before that, hence the comprehensive document. A lot of time and effort went into it. And it's not a question of patting yourself on the back. Trinidad and Tobago, you be the judge of what we have presented publicly to you.
Should your administration get into office, how soon can the population of Trinidad and Tobago get a financial report on the status of the federation? Because that is what people want.
Well, I think we'll be under tremendous pressure to deliver that to the stakeholders, and I think it will be high priority. We don't know what we will find, as everything else. We hope that prior to the elections that will be presented, because it is a mandate that it must be presented at the AGM. To date it hasn't been presented, and we have to work from there. We'll have to work on what is given to us, because it is mandated in the Constitution that you present financial statement, independent audit report, and reports of the member association at that AGM. And I feel that it's incumbent on the current administration to do that, because the Constitution calls for that.
Yes.
So at least we will know in some small way what is the state of the finances of the TTFA. Whether it's accurate or not, at least we'll have some information to go by.
Yeah.
And then we will have to investigate the accuracy of that, the state of the current finances that presented to the Trinidad and Tobago public, for them to understand, yes, we have money, yes, we do have money. But I want to tell you that every quarter we'll come to the Trinidad and Tobago public and report, because you are a stakeholder and you need to know where we are at. That is what our administration is going to do.
Now, I know that you have been to the different organizations, the referees, the different leagues, and you have, put your manifesto out. But as I said, the supporters of football to me, are the biggest stakeholders in football. I want you to take this opportunity, because I am sure that the supporters would like to hear what David John Williams has to offer. We have not heard it from the other candidates going out to the public. They are just looking at the different organizations. But I think it's imperative that the supporters hear from the person who is going up. So I want to take this opportunity and speak to Trinidad and Tobago and let them know what they can expect when David John Williams becomes the president on Monday morning.
Well, first thing I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago public is that we have not come to you with a public image and a grand launch and so on, because the Trinidad and Tobago public does not have to vote in this election.
Yeah.
There are 49 delegates.
Yeah.
We have to convince 49 delegates to vote for our administration. However, those 49 delegates, if they select us, we have to serve 1.2 million people.
Definitely.
So Trinidad and Tobago, what we can assure you is that a level of commitment, a level of transparency, the same passion that I mentioned earlier in the interview that has me in this situation, it will be transferred to the national team. We want to see football go to the next level. Football is a very integral part of Trinidad, the life of Trinidad and Tobago. The world stopped when Trinidad and Tobago is doing well.
Yeah.
You saw what happened on the 17th of November. Everybody was trying to get into the stadium.
Yeah.
Scalpers made a mass.
We could go back to 2006.
And we could go back to 2006.
We could even go back to 1989.
I go back to 1989.
Yeah.
Sport in general has a major unifying force in nations like Trinidad and Tobago. I like to, if you permit me, to sum it up this way. Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley cannot make Trinidad and Tobago stop.
Yes.
Kamala Bissassa cannot make Trinidad and Tobago stop. Brian Lara could.
Yes.
Usain Bolt could.
Yes.
Keyshawn Walcott could.
Definitely.
That's the power of sport. And I want to tell Trinidad and Tobago, that's what sport means to me. That's what football means to me. and you can expect that commitment and that desire and that passion in Trinidad and Tobago football. That's as much as I could say.
Now, you have gone to all the different organizations and present your manifesto. How and what was the response?
The response has been tremendous, I must say that. But does that mean to say that they will vote for me?
Yes.
They're all sort of factors that govern an election. An election has different angles. The people could have a different feeling. They could not like me, unlike Ramesh Ramdan.
Yes.
They could not like the people who are voting, may not like my ideas. So 90% of the Trinidad and Tobago public could like my ideas.
You know,
but the 49 delegates...
You know, some of us don't like change.
You're correct.
Especially when we are in their comfort zone.
Yeah. And the 49 delegates may not accept that. I want to point out a very sore point in my manifesto that may be a sore point for a lot of people. Because we have said that all academies and all football schools must be registered and staffed with proper academies. I think that could be a sore point for a lot of people.
Yes, because there are a lot of academies that is really daycare center.
With really daycare centers.
And they make money.
And they make money. I have no intention of changing making money, but it's for the good of the game. So that's why I say that whilst the response have been tremendous, there are a lot of things in that manifesto that may not go down well with delegates because it's changed.
Yes.
But
you have to stand on principle.
We have to stand on principle.
Yes. So even it means that you don't win, but you stand
on principle
and integrity.
So at the end of the day, we hope that they will appreciate where we're coming from, because it's the only way forward.
Yeah.
And if we don't change, whether it's under my administration, whether it's under Raymond Tinsky administration, whether it's under Selby Brown administration, whether it's under Ramesh Ramdan administration, the football will be in trouble if we don't change.
Are you willing to work with anyone who gets in there, regardless of what once it's been done the right way?
Yes, but I will tell you this. I won't tell you who told me that, but 5 different people have said to me, if our team does not win the election, we have provided Trinidad and Tobago with a roadmap for the success of Trinidad and Tobago forward in that manifesto.
Okay. Well, I will have to agree, because
the upside to that.
But would they want to use it? Because, you know, egos might step in.
Well, the upside to that, George, is that if we don't win, the team and I would say that we have made a contribution.
Yes. Before we wrap this interview, there's anything you want to share with Trinidad and Tobago?
Not really. I think I've said enough. I just want to reiterate that the major sticking point for a lot of people is the conflict of interest that appears with W Connection. I just want to repeat that we just have to accept that.
Would you be relinquishing your position?
Yes, to some extent. There's a good succession planning that has gone into W Connection. My daughter has been...
W Connection has been an institution from...
for a long time. For a long time.
Yeah,
For a long time.
yeah.
With a strong technical staff that is dedicated and honest, that you can depend on. We have a board that has been very committed over the last 17 years. We have employees that have really shown that they love this organization, and that is important. You know, we have built an organization on loyalty, and that can be seen in our technical staff. Yeah. If you look at our technical staff today, Ulja was a legend in Connection.
I remember that, yeah.
Right? A lot of people don't remember that. He's an assistant coach. Yeah. Elijah Joseph was a legend in Connection. He's a member of the technical
and just
staff.
now, Stuart Charles might be getting pension.
Right.
That time he's with you all.
Clyde Leon, you know, former captain at W Connection. He's an assistant coach. And has always been, so based on that, you know, the loyalty that these people, along with other employees that have shown for W Connection, I feel very comfortable relinquishing some responsibility in W Connection. and let the younger folks take the mantle. God forbid I drop down in the morning. Somebody has to take it up.
Yeah.
And that's the reality.
Yeah.
So let's just see it as me just wanting to be president of W Connection, and I'm the TTFA, and just relinquishing my role at W Connection.
Yeah.
Life is full of many challenges,
Yes.
and you're here today and you're gone tomorrow.
Definitely.
But the club has to go on.
Yes. With David John Williams, it was indeed a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Let me wish you all the best, and I'll be here bright and early on Monday morning to get the interview with the new TTFA president.
It's been a pleasure, George.
Thank you very much. And there you heard it from David John Williams, giving us his perspective of what is going to happen once he gets into office and being elected the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation. And as I said before in the opening, I read the manifesto, and it's really, really a perfect plan for the upliftment of football in Trinidad and Tobago. And I really want to wish him all the best. And as I said, I'll be here on Monday morning, to get that interview with the new president of the Trinidad and Tobago Football Federation. So as we leave you, this is the end of Scoreboard here next 25. Hope you can join us next week, Monday, and Tuesday actually at the same time. Remember tonight, our Tuesday night football match is the South Zone Integral Finals, Naparima College versus President College. See you next week.